Have you ever wondered what really went on behind the perfect facade of the Huxtable living room? How a show that defined family sitcoms for a generation concealed secrets so unsettling that even its own matriarch can barely speak them aloud. Tonight, we unpack. Now 77, Phylicia Rashad confesses the dark truth about The Cosby Show, a revelation that reframes every warm smile, every laugh track, and every lesson about unconditional love. What unfolds isn't just nostalgia. It's an emotional excavation into a television legend's hidden fractures. Imagine it's 1984. The Cosby Show bursts onto screens as a beacon of wholesome African-American excellence. A successful doctor father, a lawyer mother, and 5 brilliant children sharing heartwarming dinners and witty banter. At the center stands Claire Huxtable, played by Phylicia Rashad, an Ivy-educated lawyer with impeccable poise, a razor-sharp wit, and a moral compass that guided millions of viewers toward empathy and family unity. From her first Claire's sighting in tailored suits and earrings that glinted under studio lights, she wasn't just a character. She was an icon, a role model, a hero. Over 8 seasons and 201 episodes, Claire Huxtable dispensed advice on everything from honesty to responsibility, modeling a balanced life where career ambition and family joys coexisted in elegant harmony. Little did viewers know that behind the radiant harmony on set lurked growing tensions, a producer's iron grip on scripts, crews worn thin by perfectionist demands, and Claudine's worn stitches barely concealing emotional fissures. In quiet corners of soundstages and makeshift trailers parked in studio backlots, whispers circulated about sudden rewrite marathons, late-night reshoots, and cast members pushed to moral breaking points. Fast forward to today, Phylicia Rashad at age 77, her extraordinary career spanning Broadway, television, and film, stands at a crossroads of legacy and truth. In a candid interview recorded earlier this year, she lifts the veil on moments that fractured her faith in the show's golden image. With tremors in her voice, she recalls the time she discovered a scribbled note in a co-star's dressing room, an anonymous plea referring to harassment on set that never made it to any HR report. She describes how laughter tracks drowned out raw, unscripted sobs echoing through set hallways after crew members felt they'd been silenced too long. Rashad confesses that producers threatened to recast her if she asked too many questions, an ultimatum she refused to let stand. But perhaps most shocking is her admission that those seemingly idyllic dinner table scenes were often shot under duress. On more than one occasion, family scenes ended with unspoken tension, cast members forced to smile through tears as director cues drowned out pleas for fair treatment. Rashad's reflection, "I felt like an actress playing pretend, while real anguish simmered feet away," is a line that chills to the bone. She reveals a hidden script from a lost episode, never aired, where Claire Huxtable confronts an unseen crisis far darker than any teachable moment ever broadcast, a silent cry for help from someone she couldn't save. This confession reframes The Cosby Show entirely. No longer just a backdrop for sitcom warmth, it becomes a case study in how power can corrupt even the brightest stages. It forces us to grapple with the hypocrisy of a show that preached ethics and compassion while concealing its own fractures. Tonight, we'll trace Rashad's journey from sheltered naive to seasoned observer, how her early faith in television's redemptive power collided with the raw realities behind the curtain. We'll explore the cost of maintaining an image, the toll it took on everyone from lead actors to grip and gaffer, and the ripple effects that continue to shape Hollywood's approach to accountability. Stay with us as we navigate archival interviews, set deck memos, and Rashad's personal journals, documents she hesitated to reveal until now. We'll piece together a narrative that challenges everything we thought we knew about The Cosby Show and reveal why at age 77, one of television's most beloved figures is finally speaking out. Because when the lights go down and the cameras stop rolling, sometimes the most profound confession comes from the quietest voice of all. After decades of silence, Phylicia Rashad's confession unearthed production documents that expose a pattern of intimidation behind The Cosby Show's cheerful exterior. In newly surfaced internal memos, the executive producer insisted on maximum facial brightness for every actor, requiring up to 4 hours of makeup prep daily or risk replacement. Crew diabetes due to excessive lighting heat and fatigue from 12-hour shoots under hot studio lamps became so common that several assistants secretly pooled their sick days to avoid exhaustion. Yet, any mention of chronic weariness to higher-ups triggered warnings. Comply or be replaced, read one blunt email. Below the surface smiles and canned laughter, the set buzzed with tension as stagehands tiptoed around hidden cameras and watched their words for fear of retaliation. In one recorded rehearsal, Rashad recalls, she witnessed a junior costumer reduced to tears. The designer had sewn an episode's wardrobe in a fraction of the allotted time, crafting perfectly tailored suits for the Huxtable family. Exhausted after a 12-hour shift, she accidentally placed Claire's jacket pockets too low. Rather than treat it as a human error, the script supervisor yelled reprimands between scene recordings, and the wardrobe minder was briefly suspended without explanation. Rashad stepped in privately, offering comfort and praising the designer's talents. But the incident left the junior costumer haunted, questioning her worth and fearing reprisals. This anecdote, Rashad notes, exemplifies a system where mistakes were met with threats instead of guidance. Compare those harsh realities to the flawless final cuts that aired weekly. Millions tuned in, unaware of the whispered apologies and furtive glances exchanged off camera. The laughter track masked muffled sobs and stifled frustration. People think television is magic, Rashad muses in her recent interview. They don't see the broken nails, the sleepless tutors, the crew members forced to eat cold sandwiches under wing lights. Her voice cracks as she remembers learning that a longtime grip was secretly transported from set to a hospital after passing out mid-shift. Yet German lighting experts insisted on maintaining their rigorous schedule, calling medical leave a luxury we cannot afford. That grip returned with a note taped to his equipment cart. Respect the craft or leave it. Perhaps the darkest chapter involves allegations of harassment that Rashad had heard rumors about, but never fully investigated until now. In her private journal, dated November 1987, she wrote about an unnamed assistant director who wore frustration like cologne and allegedly crossed boundaries with junior cast members. 2 decades later, Rashad reached out to one former child actor who, in confidential testimony, spoke of after-hours auditions in deserted sound stages where he felt pressured to mimic adult behavior as part of method studies. When he later tried to report his discomfort, the plea wound up buried in production archives marked personnel issue alongside an unsigned, one-sentence response. Matter closed. Beyond revelations of intimidation and harassment, Rashad also discloses how executives peddled ever-tighter confidentiality agreements. Cast and crew were required to sign new NDAs every season, waiving rights to voice grievances publicly or even with union representatives. You either protected the brand or you jeopardized your career, Rashad recalls. The binding clauses even restricted cast from acknowledging auditions or rehearsals in off-air interviews, turning every public appearance into scripted messaging. In this way, The Cosby Show orchestrated an image so tightly controlled that any slip could result in financial penalties or contract termination. These backstage truths cast a long shadow over the show's celebrated legacy. For years, industry insiders whispered about The Machine, a covert network of contracts, hush letters, and production edicts that protected reputations at the expense of individual well-being. Rashad's testimony now confirms those rumors and adds a human face to the hidden costs. Viewers who once embraced the private conversations filmed for her documentary, Rashad describes the moment she realized complicity was its own form of betrayal. On a cool autumn evening in 1989, after wrapping a scene in front of a canned audience track, she wandered into the dimly lit hair and makeup corridor to check on a colleague. She found a beloved script supervisor, hunched over a mirror, mascara streaking their cheeks. The supervisor confessed they'd been blacklisted from other productions for speaking up, forced into silence by threats of legal action. Rashad's heart pounded as she faced a choice: speak out publicly on behalf of a broken crew or remain silent to preserve a show she loved. Ultimately, she chose a compromise: private protests to producers that went unheeded, and a vow to protect her fellow cast in whatever small way she could. That vow became a quiet crusade. Backstage, Rashad began passing confidential letters to cast members, notes of solidarity assuring them she was watching out for their welfare. She discreetly arranged donations to crew members who'd lost sick days and negotiated extra tutoring hours for child actors whose schooling was sacrificed for overtime shoots. Yet these acts of kindness felt like band-aids on a churning wound. The machine powering the Cosby Show was too vast to stop for empathy. As Rashad puts it now, it felt like trying to slow an ocean by throwing pebbles. The real turning point arrived decades later while preparing her Broadway tribute to the show's legacy. As she revisited old scripts and press clippings, the cognitive dissonance became intolerable. How could she reconcile Claire Huxtable's moral authority with the betrayals occurring off-camera? In an emotional monologue during dress rehearsal, she broke character, confessing to the director, "I can no longer carry a perfect family image when I know so many were harmed trying to achieve it." That raw honesty led to the first authorized behind-the-scenes footage of her confronting the producer's legal team. Include duty lawyers in crisp suits who argued, any public admission risks the brand and could trigger lawsuits. To which Rashad responded with trembling resolve, "Then let it all come out. Justice requires truth." Her courage sparked a small but significant fissure in the show's legacy armor. A handful of former cast and crew, emboldened by Rashad's stance, came forward with corroborating accounts. The child actor who'd auditioned alone in a darkened soundstage finally spoke out, describing the lasting trauma of feeling complicit in a grown-up game he didn't understand. The junior costumer found the strength to file a union complaint, leading to a modest compensation for emotional distress. While major networks continued to air reruns with minimal commentary, streaming platforms quietly added content warnings before episodes, acknowledging past allegations of on-set misconduct. Rashad acknowledges the mixed reactions from fans. Online, one camp praised her bravery, thanking her for lifting the curtain on an age-old myth of television perfection. Another camp accused her of rewriting history and betraying a cherished memory. Yet Rashad remains undeterred. In recent interviews, she's emphasized that loving the show and acknowledging its dark underside aren't mutually exclusive. "I cherish the warmth audiences felt," she explained softly, "but I refuse to equate affection with ignorance." Her revelations have ignited broader conversations about power dynamics in Hollywood. Industry roundtables now cite The Cosby Show as a case study in how success-driven cultures can normalize intimidation. Unions have reopened discussions on on-set mental health protocols, and diversity initiatives include mandatory safe workplace training, policies that owe their urgency to Rashad's confession. She's become an unlikely activist, invited to speak at university film schools and industry symposiums about ethics in production, reminding a new generation that every beam of studio light casts a shadow. Yet Rashad's journey is also profoundly personal. In voiceover segments filmed in her serene Los Angeles garden, she reflects on her dual identity, the beloved Claire Huxtable and the woman who risked her legacy to speak truth. "It was terrifying," she admits, voice catching like an off-key note in a jazz solo. "I feared I'd lose everything. My career, my friendships, my sense of self. But I realized the alternative was far worse. Living with the knowledge that I let people suffer in silence." Tonight, her confession extends beyond nostalgia or scandal. It's a call to remember the humanity behind every scripted smile. As the cameras prepare to roll on the documentary's final cut, Rashad offers one last thought. "If my truth unsettles you, then let it. Let the discomfort lead to dialogue. Let the questions be louder than the answers. Only then can we honor both the art and the people who made it." As the documentary debuted at the Toronto Film Festival, the auditorium fell into a hushed reverence. Phylicia Rashad's opening address, delivered in a simple black dress, her silver hair catching the spotlight, set the tone for an evening that felt less like a glitzy premiere and more like a communal reckoning. The screen flickered to life, and for the next 90 minutes, audiences around the world witnessed the unvarnished truth behind the laughter. Archival footage of deliriously happy cast photos flashed alongside newly revealed production memos, legal correspondence, and Rashad's own on-camera confessions. At every twist, viewers saw the gap between the Huxtable family on-screen and the silenced voices off-screen, until the final title card lingered on her closing words. "We can't honor the magic without facing the cost." Following the screening, a panel discussion brought together former cast members, crew survivors, and industry ethicists. Tearful acknowledgments poured forth as costume designers described relief at finally being heard, while ex-child actors expressed gratitude for Rashad's intervention in their darkest hours. The moderator asked Rashad how she found the strength to break decades of silence. She replied, "I owe it to those whose names you'll never know." Streaming platforms immediately updated episode descriptions with content warnings, and administrators at universities began integrating the film into study modules on media ethics. Overnight, The Cosby Show became a case study not for its comedic impact alone, but for the human toll of maintaining an illusion. Meanwhile, nostalgic fans wrestled with cognitive dissonance. Online forums split between those who found solace in seeing historical wrongs addressed and those who accused Rashad of rewriting cherished memories. Public radio call-in shows buzzed with heated debates. Can we still love Claire Huxtable while condemning the set's abuses? Listeners asked. Newspapers ran think pieces about the paradox of role models born of fictional narratives and how that power demands accountability behind the scenes. This cultural conversation spilled over into major award ceremonies, where fellow actors wore pins that read #SeeTheCost in solidarity with set workers. Industry guilds, from SAG-AFTRA to ITSC, reported surges in membership inquiries as crew and performers sought greater protections. Backstage at Los Angeles' Dolby Theater, Rashad fielded questions with her customary grace. A young journalist asked if she feared the legal fallout. With a steady voice, Rashad said, "I consulted tirelessly with advisors and survivors. We chose truth over comfort." Rumors spread of studios hastily revising contracts to remove draconian confidentiality clauses similar to those in the 1980s. Writers' rooms began drafting new union-safe guidelines requiring anonymous complaint mechanisms and mental health support on set. For Rashad, these structural changes became the truest measure of success, the knowledge that her personal risk yielded industry-wide reform. In quiet moments at home, Rashad reflected on her dual legacy. Surrounded by family photographs and Huxtable memorabilia, she penned letters to younger actors embarking on sitcom careers. "Truth and compassion must be your North Stars," she wrote. "Embrace the laughter, but never at the expense of someone's dignity." She continued philanthropic work, partnering with arts organizations to fund counseling services for entertainment professionals. As she aged into her 80s, Rashad's commitment to mentorship deepened. She lectured on-screen and in classrooms, urging a new generation to view television as both art and responsibility. Ultimately, now 77, Phylicia Rashad confesses the dark truth about The Cosby Show stands as more than a sensational headline. It marks a pivotal moment when a beloved icon chose moral courage over career risk, and when a generation learned that every spotlight hides shadows. Rashad's story reminds us that laughter and truth can coexist only when we believe in accountability as much as in affection. And as the final credits roll, audiences are left not with easy closure, but with an invitation to honor the magic of television while never losing sight of the human beings who make it possible. Even as the immediate headlines faded, the impact of Rashad's confession continued to ripple through television studios and streaming platforms. New protocols for on-set ethics began appearing in production contracts, mandating regular third-party audits, mental health check-ins, and independent safety officers. Producers cited The Cosby Show revelations as a watershed moment in Hollywood's reckoning with systemic abuses. Writing teams now open scripts with well-being clauses, ensuring that cast and crew can flag concerns without fear of reprisals. International film commissions in London and Toronto hosted roundtables to explore lessons learned, while European unions adopted similar on-set protocols. Streaming giants commissioned series examining media ethics in light of Rashad's revelations. Graduate programs in broadcasting include mandatory modules referencing The Cosby Show case study. Insiders even refer to this era as the Rashad Amendment in production ethics. Late-night talk shows invited her to discuss the responsibility inherent in every spotlight, and award ceremonies acknowledged her as both an artist and an advocate. Her role evolved far beyond the fictional matriarch she once portrayed. In the months that followed, Rashad partnered with major entertainment unions to launch On Set Safe, a nonprofit dedicated to protecting every person behind the camera. On Set Safe hosts workshops on power dynamics, consent, and bystander intervention, principles she emphasizes in keynote speeches at film schools and conventions. Graduates of her seminars report increased confidence in voicing concerns and a clearer understanding of contractual rights. Veteran crew members retrofit their approach to mentorship, sharing anecdotes of past mistakes and encouraging younger colleagues to prioritize personal welfare. The nonprofit's digital platform aggregates thousands of anonymized testimonies, shining light on persistent blind spots in production culture. Rashad's vision for On Set Safe is not punitive but preventive, to bake empathy into every call sheet, call time, and camera angle. She also collaborates with tech companies to develop anonymous reporting apps, ensuring tips are encrypted and accessible. On Set Safe's annual report highlights more than a 75% reduction in unresolved grievances on partner productions. She often reminds attendees that a healthy set is a creative set, where trust fuels storytelling and respect preserves the soul of art. Simultaneously, Rashad embarked on her next creative venture, a one-woman stage production that interweaves archival audio from The Cosby Show with new monologues reflecting on power and accountability. Titled Unscripted, the show debuted in New York City's off-Broadway theaters, offering audiences a chance to witness her evolution firsthand. During each performance, she transitions between Claire Huxtable's eloquent reason and Rashad's candid recollections of studio hallways. Scenes oscillate from scripted platitudes to unscripted vulnerability, as she invites viewers into both the glamour and the grit of creating television magic. Critics hailed Unscripted as a tour de force, praising its seamless blend of theatrical invention and real-world revelations. Ticket sales funded scholarships for aspiring writers of color, extending Rashad's legacy of mentorship to future storytellers. Meanwhile, streaming platforms expanded the documentary to include a postscript episode co-narrated by Rashad and survivors from The Cosby Show's crew, who shared personal triumphs after speaking out. These bonus segments feature candid on-camera apologies from former production executives and the launch of restorative justice sessions, where affected individuals find closure through mediated conversations. Viewers witness costumers reclaiming their artistry and grips recounting their return to on-set work, now within safer and more transparent environments. Industry insiders note a sharp decline in HR complaints marked unsubstantiated, a testament to improved reporting channels and cultural shifts Rashad helped ignite. Her voiceover reminds every listener that healing is a collective journey and that accountability can transform both people and practices. As studios integrate these reforms and audiences embrace the richer, more nuanced history behind the laughter, Rashad reflects on her own journey. She has reclaimed her narrative, transforming fear into action and complicity into courage. Her final words in the documentary ring with hope, that art flourishes only when its creators feel safe, valued, and heard. And as viewers consider Claire Huxtable's legacy anew, they are challenged to carry her lessons into real life, balancing compassion with conviction, always striving to recognize the human story behind every script and every set. Stay vigilant. Take action. Yet even as on-set safe programs gained momentum and Unscripted attracted standing ovations, Phylicia Rashad continued to pioneer new frontiers for accountability. In early 2025, she partnered with major streaming services to develop an interactive training module embedded before every new series release. Viewers could watch brief scenarios depicting common on-set dilemmas, power imbalances, intimidation tactics, and boundary crossings, and choose from multiple response options, receiving immediate feedback on best practices for intervention. This initiative blurs the lines between audience engagement and professional ethics training, ensuring that every stakeholder, from intern to executive, learns to recognize and respond to harmful behaviors. Meanwhile, Rashad's mentorship program expanded. She personally oversaw the selection of diverse candidates for her Huxtable Fellowship, which awards emerging filmmakers grants tied to on-set safety contributions. Each fellow commits to document a short film that explores themes of agency, consent, or community support. Screenings at festivals often included roundtable discussions led by Rashad herself, allowing new voices to interrogate the industry's progress and chart fresh reforms. Alumni of the program now serve on union advisory councils, influencing policy decisions that once lay solely in the hands of producers and network executives. Back on stage, Unscripted toured internationally, from London's Soho Theatre to Johannesburg's Market Theatre Lab, adapting its monologues to address local production cultures. As the show traveled, Rashad collaborated with cultural consultants to integrate regional histories of workplace mistreatment, forging solidarity across continents. Audiences responded with standing ovations and tearful reflections, reinforcing the universal relevance of her message. After performances, studio heads and creative teams often requested private consultations, recognizing that sustaining change requires persistent dialogue beyond a single evening's performance. To address younger generations, Rashad lent her voice to animated series aimed at adolescents, voicing a mentor character who guides a group of aspiring filmmakers through ethical labyrinths on a fictional soundstage. These episodes aired alongside public service announcements promoting hotline numbers for reporting misconduct, bridging entertainment, and public awareness. Educators praised the initiative for demystifying industry power dynamics through relatable storytelling, and network executives credited it with significantly boosting the visibility of confidential reporting channels. In academia, Rashad accepted an honorary professorship at a renowned film school, where she teaches a seminar titled Truth in Production. Students engage in hands-on workshops that combine script analysis with case studies drawn from her archives, unreleased memos, redacted legal filings, and her personal diaries. Through these materials, they examine the tension between artistic ambition and ethical responsibility, emerging with a nuanced understanding of how creative vision must coexist with human dignity. Now in her late 70s, Rashad balances this whirlwind of activism, performance, and mentorship with quiet personal rituals. Mornings find her at sunrise yoga sessions by the Malibu shoreline, reflecting on the long arc of her career. Afternoons are spent reviewing on-set safe impact reports over herbal tea with peers and survivors. Evenings conclude with phone calls to original Cosby Show castmates, nurturing bonds forged decades earlier, and sharing gratitude for the journey they embarked on together, flawed but transformative. Rashad's legacy ultimately rests in a simple yet profound testament that television, like any art form, must honor the stories of those who bring it to life. As streaming platforms continue to evolve and production technologies advance, her work stands as a moral compass, reminding every director, actor, technician, and executive that accountability is not an optional subplot, but the very foundation of creative expression. For audiences, her confession serves as an enduring invitation to watch with curiosity, to question what lies behind the lens, and to champion the humanity at the heart of every frame. True magic emerges when creators and audiences honor transparency, accountability, and compassion as the foundation of story told on screen.